Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 12th and final round.
Right hand, Golovkin steps in and down he goes again. Unbelievable. Mayweather makes him pay. What a rookie mistake. A sensational left hook by De La Hoya.
It's fact. I'm the best. You know what I mean? Sometimes I don't want to believe it myself, but it's the truth. I'm the best. I'm going to show you how great I am.
From Southern California, this is the Last Round Podcast.
Welcome to a bonus episode of the Last Round Podcast. Oh, I could name it Fight Week Podcast, I guess. So I'm here in Las Vegas, the new Virgin Hotel, with Andi Purewal from the Boxing Social. Thanks for joining me, Andi.
I appreciate you inviting me on at such short notice. How are you doing?
I'm good. So how's Fight Week been for you so far?
It's been good. Obviously, it started properly on yesterday. I came into the bubble on Wednesday. And then obviously I came to Vegas on the back of Canelo, so I came last Sunday, been here for 10 days before coming into the bubble, and I luckily arranged to go and see a lot of fighters. So I saw Caleb Plant. I was one of the first media for the online outlets, I think, to speak to him on the back of a Canelo Saunders fight. Saw TV Lopez, Devin Haney, all their dads, Michael Hunter, and just started getting around to all the gyms, came into this bubble, and yeah, it's just kind of just started to pick up today. It's just a bit of a shame knowing about the fights tomorrow, but it's a great fight and a great week to be a part of.
Before we jump into it, actually, just give us a bit of a lowdown on yourself, because I'm sure plenty of people watch Boxing Social, you and Rob Tebbett and other usual voices behind the camera. So just give us a lowdown on who is Andi Purewal.
So Andi Purewal is a qualified journalist from university, graduated from university 3 years ago with first-class honours. I got involved with Boxing Social through Rob Tebbett. Rob joined about 3 months before me.
El Jefe?
Yeah, El Jefe is his nickname now. So Rob saw me doing an interview with Daniel Dubois. And Rob said to me at the end of the interview, that was a good interview, well done, mate. I mean, he just kind of kept his eye on me ever since then. Then we went and we had a press conference in Sheffield. I was doing my own stuff at the time, and Rob was just starting out with Behind the Gloves. So Rob was at Behind the Gloves at the time. So we went to press conference in Sheffield. I can't remember who it was for. It was Brook. I can't remember who Brook was fighting. So we spoke a little bit after about what we could maybe do together. And then we had the Groves and Eubank Jr. press conference up in Manchester. On the back of that, we had something to eat, spoke again, and he was like, listen, give me a couple of weeks, I'll see what's what and try and get you in. And then a couple of weeks after, he actually ended up leaving Behind the Gloves, spent a couple of months away, and then got back involved with Boxing Social. And I think just a few months after that, reached out to me. Previously, Glenn McCrory was working with Boxing Social, so I went to just help Glenn out on a couple of shows, and then Rob turned around to me and he said to me, listen, come down to the office, meet the team and see what we can do together, and then offered me a job, and we just kind of went from there, and we've gone from strength to strength. We had a brief chat off of the interview starting there, and the podcast starting, and one man who deserves a lot of credit is Ryan Elliott. I can't talk highly enough of Ryan. Like he's just a warrior. He's a soldier. He does so much behind the scenes, like on social media. He can do interviews. He can do a bit of everything. Like he's fantastic. And I think big shout out to Ryan Elliott as well as Rob, obviously.
So when you were studying journalism, was it boxing? Was that the end goal?
I think that, in all honesty, football has always been my main sport. Football, I think, for the majority of people getting involved in, growing up, the majority of the UK in particular follow football. And for me, my team was West Brom. I used to go to every game home and away with my dad. And I still have a West Brom season ticket now. Up until the pandemic, I haven't missed a home game in a long time. I've had a season ticket for 14 years. So football was always my main sport. Then it was boxing after that. I actually got involved with boxing. The thing that made me fall in love with boxing was I went to watch the Klitschko Hay fight at my uncle's house. We ordered pizza and my family was around. It was a really nice evening. The reason why that always sticks with me is because unfortunately 7 years ago my uncle took his life. So for me, boxing's like a way for me to feel close to him, because he used to be an amateur boxer himself. So I've always pushed myself towards boxing on the back of that. And it's, like I say, it's gone from strength to strength over these past 3 or 4 years.
Something I always ask people that do the boxing journalism and interviews like yourself is, when you go into an interview with somebody, Do you already have questions in mind, or do you just have one set question and just build off that question?
I think it depends on what the story is. So, for example, we had all the Wilder arbitration news break this week, so I went into my interview with Bob in my head. I must have had 4 or 5 questions which I knew I had to ask, and then I was always going to go on the back of whatever he was going to say for a further answer if he gave me something which I thought I should have gone off on. At the same time, it all comes down to how much time you have. So Bob, I did 8 minutes with him, I think my interview was, but we was told 5, so I kind of pushed it a little bit. But then, if I see Eddie Hearn, Eddie will sit there and he'll answer every question that you can want to throw at him. So it all comes down to the person that you're speaking to as well. But I do tend to, any interview you do go into, you'll have a few questions pre-prepared, but once you've got through them, you'll be going off whatever they say.
Getting back to the fight week, so we're obviously here for the Taylor-Ramirez, and I know a lot of questions have been put to the fighters regarding, do they think that the promotion for this fight has been pushed a lot in terms of the amount of bubbles and fight weeks that you've attended? How does that compare?
I think it's always difficult because, just simply because they don't have the main or a main UK broadcaster pick this up. So back in the UK, listening and talking to people as well, apparently it's not really been publicised across TV or across newspapers and what have you. I know we've got Jeff Powell out here from the Daily Mail, but I don't think it helps not being able to have people travel out here. This is a massive fight. It's an undisputed fight, the first one this year, off the top of my head, unless I'm missing something off. They come around once in a blue moon. If this was a normal world, you'd have had Gareth A. Davis would have been here. The Times would have sent somebody out. Well, Times would have had Gareth A. Davis rather. The Sun would have sent out somebody. Chris McKenna would have been here. Boxing News would have sent somebody out here. But because of the situation, nobody can. So I don't think it's helped. I think it's been... Evan has done a brilliant job at getting as many people on to talk about it as possible. So he's had everybody back home in the UK. They've been doing the Zoom calls. For Evans, the media guy from Top Rank, I should just clarify. They've been doing the Zoom calls back in the UK. We've also had brilliant access to the fighters. It helps that we get on really well with Ben and with Josh and the team. Jose and Robert been very opening to us as well. So they've done as much as what they can. I don't know, it's just... I think the biggest thing, I think people's biggest gripe is the fact for whatever reason a UK broadcaster hasn't picked it up. So I think certainly back in the UK it hasn't received the attention it deserves.
Do you think some of that as well is the limelight's been stolen by the Wilder arbitration? 100%.
I think that breaking this week, it was always going to take away from what is. And I can't implore people enough to watch this fight on Saturday. It is such a fantastic fight. But yeah, as you say, that's taken away from it. And there's a funny little story that I actually went to see Bob on the day when the arbitration news broke. I was doing my interview with him and we just finished. He got a phone call and I'm packing up and all I hear is, holy fuck. So when he said that, I was like, I immediately knew that it was going to be about that. So in my head, I'm there thinking either I don't put this interview out or I have to get this up within 2 minutes, otherwise it's just not worth it. So I had to blast it out. But I kind of knew that news was going to break then.
Did you reach for another edible to calm him down?
I was still in the office, but I asked Evan, as like we're trying to get our head around it ourselves at the minute. So they was kind of, but I don't think they spoke to anyone about it until I think they did something with ESPN the morning of yesterday, so the press conference, and then I spoke to Bob, Andrew McCart from IFL spoke to him, and I imagine a couple of others did it as well. But yeah, it's just unfortunate that something like that breaks, and we're living in a sport where the heavyweight divisions, the glamour division, you hear news like that, it's always going to take the priority. It's always going to be the big news that everybody's going to be talking about for a long time. And I'm sure that the consequences of Deontay winning that arbitration case, I say consequences, the fallout from it and everything that will happen in the coming months, they'll be spoken about for the next few weeks until it kind of eases off when we start to hear of new fights announced and what have you, such as, earlier we heard the Pacquiao-Spence fight announced, which is a fantastic fight. I can't wait for that.
So today was obviously the weigh-in day before we get to the little scuffle How did you think that both of them looked on the scales? Because I know that Josh, the day before in the face-off, was kind of telling him, you look very dry, you've been struggling at the weight.
I think I try not to read too much into kind of all of that, but having seen little bits and pieces, I'm certainly seeing a lot of people commenting on it. It seems to be that Jose might have struggled a little bit in this camp. I know people have spoken about previously he can balloon up a bit in between fights. I think not being able to be active in the pandemic wouldn't have helped him. But ultimately, when he gets in the ring, it's an undisputed fight. I think he'll grit down even if he has struggled a bit with the weight, even if it does take his toll on his body towards those latter rounds. I ultimately think it won't play a part tomorrow night, but in Josh's case, to find out what's what, follows him, work the body early, get a feel for it, see if Jose is starting to struggle. But it's going to be an interesting one to see how it unfolds. But if Jose has struggled, then beforehand I was thinking Josh might win on points. But if it's been a struggle for Jose, then you could make the argument that Josh could stop him.
So after the weigh-in, I think most people have probably seen Top Rank even put out a small video of, Josh Taylor came out. They're surrounded by, the Mexican fans putting the flag in his face. Some of them are kind of getting a little bit too close. He gets to the elevator, has a little push and pull with Jose Ramirez. Now, do you think that's going to affect Josh or Ramirez, or do you think that is just Josh Taylor because he's over here by himself with no UK fans who can't fly in? Do you think he's just taken that siege mentality that everybody's against him?
So I've never covered. This is my first Josh Taylor Fight Week that I've covered, but I've spoken to Rob, I've spoken to Ryan, I've spoken to others, and they've said this is the normal thing for Josh. Josh does, when you get to the press conference, when you get to the fight, he takes it to the weigh-in, he goes in, he switches, he turns from this gentle guy to a beast, to an animal, and he wants to rip your head off. He doesn't care. And I think that's just Josh. Having spent time around him this week, you can see as we've got closer towards fight night, excluding yesterday, excluding today, his mind's been more focused on the task at hand, and I think he's just pumping himself up more than anything for tomorrow night. And it is the biggest fight of his career, and I'm sure he's just trying to make sure that he's as amped up as possible to produce what will need to be a career best performance, regardless of whatever's gone on with regards to the weights, if there's been any struggles or not. Both fighters will have to produce a career best performance to be successful, and I think in Josh's case, he's just getting amped up. He's just amped himself up, showing people that he not just means business, but he wants to make a statement tomorrow night. And he certainly is a man who, if he's going to say something, he's going to look to back it up.
So how do you see the fight going? I won't ask you to make a pick, because obviously you have to interview both teams, so I won't put you in that position. But how do you break it down for both sides, their path to victory?
It's difficult not to make a pick, because, as I said earlier, I lean towards Josh on points, but that's me saying that's not me 100% comfortable. It's a very evenly matched fight, so I would be far from surprised to see Jose win. It is, in my opinion, a 51-49 in favour of Josh. That's my thoughts. Listening to people talk throughout this week, we're going to see a different version of Josh. We're going to see a version of Josh who will maybe look to be a bit more clever, box a bit more, be a bit more conservative of his output. Josh is a very high energy, high paced fighter, and we've seen, certainly with the Prograis fight most recently, he loves to get involved. You go to the Baranchik fight, he loves to just get stuck in. Postel was one hard man, but again, Taylor was throwing his kitchen sink at him. That's just Josh. He loves to throw punches in bunches. I saw a great stat the other day that Jose Ramirez, I think it was, he's landed on the most, and then Josh lands on his opponents more than. Yeah,
that's right. I think Dan Canobio posted it. Yeah.
So it was something along those lines, and in my opinion, Josh's best chance is to get on the inside and to have those little tear-ups. I think if he was to change his game plan to completely, to be a bit more conservative, box a bit more just to work him out, I think he'd be doing his own abilities a disservice. But Ben Davison's a fantastic trainer. He's a world-class trainer. And if he's seen something in Ramirez which he feels they can exploit, then 100% go down that route. It's just from having seen Josh I feel like at times it comes down to it's got to be at the right moments. He can't just go and from the first bout think, right, hell for leather, let's go for it, let's just start trading. It's got to be at the right moments, whether it be just little 20-second bursts in each round or it is minute-long, stand there slogging it out, whatever it may be. There will be moments when Josh just has to get involved. But at the same time, he does have to be wary of what's coming back at him because Jose can bank. Jose is a very big hitter himself, and Jose loves to tear up.
And someone else who's in that corner that's very rarely spoken about, Lee Wiley.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to interview him. I even asked him today, just to try and get his story for everybody. You know, going from, you know, a writer to making some videos about breaking down, you know, fights and fighters and how to do things. And, you know, he does some great videos on like Canelo, Lomachenko that have, you know, thousands and thousands of views. But yeah, he never wants to be on camera. So, you know, he's a secret weapon in the corner, isn't he? Because he's kind of like Ben Davidson, but maybe the guru. Maybe he's, you know, he's even better than Ben Davidson.
100%. And you mentioned in Levi, I can't recall an interview I've done with Ben where he doesn't refer to the work of Lee Wiley and the influence that he has in the gym. And it's actually funny. We went for dinner yesterday. I would say we went for dinner. The rest of the team were eating. I was just having a drink, and Ben literally pulls out his iPad. And he starts analysing Ramirez, and Lee's just sat there with him, and they're just picking these little things apart. And Lee's as heavily involved in the analysis as what Ben is, and it's fantastic to see. And I can only imagine how much that helps Ben out to have somebody else there, not to fall back on, but to kind of bounce ideas off, and just to see that he's seeing what. Well, it's for, in Ben's case, that Lee's seeing what Ben's seeing. I think it must be a big comfort blanket to have. And it must give Josh more comfort as well to know he's got two people seeing the exact same thing ahead of tomorrow night.
And it's good because it's a second pair of eyes. And he also doesn't want the limelight. He's not like a coach who, you know, suddenly pops up and believes that he's the celebrity.
Yeah. No, 100%, and that's the thing. That's a great thing about people like Lee. They just go about the business quietly. They're trying to set up with Ben the game plan, but you won't see him coming out and taking any form of a limelight. He just wants to see the fighters succeed, the fighters do well. Stunning with Lee McGregor recently. We saw a terrific performance against Karim Guerfi in the European title fight only a matter of a month ago or 2 months ago. Lee deserves a tremendous amount of credit, and he's been like a relatively quiet guy as well. Like, I've spoken to him, he's a really nice guy, but he's quiet and he keeps himself to himself. I just think he's just fully focused at whatever task is at hand, and in this case it's Taylor-Ramirez.
So we got your pick, but who do you think is next for the winner? It's looking like either Lomachenko, it's going to be either Teofimo Lopez may step up to 140, or there's even spoken about Terence Crawford.
Personally, I think if Ramirez wins, I think he'll step up to 147. Because he's a big guy, and I do think that he's going to struggle to keep making the weight. So I think he'll move up to 147 and vacate. If Josh wins, I think he'll fight Catterall back at Edinburgh Castle. But if that fight can't happen, just because obviously Jack being the mandatory and he stepped aside for this fight, but if that doesn't happen, I think Josh will vacate and move up. I don't think Teofimo will get the fight against either of those, just from listening to what's kind of going around. I don't think that will happen.
Is that Bob? Sour grapes because it looks like he's trying to get out of his top rank contract?
I wouldn't say that. I spoke to Bob yesterday, and Bob said that he'd be more than happy to make that fight, but Bob's somebody's not a very good juggler there.
We're in Dunkin' Donuts, just so everybody knows.
This is the life of boxing social people. We're not 5-star mules, but I spoke to Bob yesterday. Bob said he'd be more than happy to throw Teofimo in there. I say throw Teofimo, a very capable fighter. Whether you class him or not, undisputed champion at 135. He said he'd be more than happy to put him in there with the winner of his fight, but I think the most likely thing would be Catterall for Josh at Edinburgh if Josh is to win. If he doesn't, and then he'd either move up, or in Jose's case, I think he would look to move up. With Teofimo, I think he fights Kambosos. I think he'll beat Kambosos personally. I think he will stop him. And then I think, I've seen him a couple of times out here, and he said he wants at least a couple more fights after that, and he wants big names at 135. And as we all know, you've got Devin Haney, who holds the normal WBC world title, as well as obviously Ryan Garcia and Tank, who can drop back down to 135. But you never know, Tank fighting at 140 could pick up that regular. If Teofimo wants to move up, that'd be a massive fight at 140 as well, Teofimo versus Tank.
And then another big fight that got announced pretty much straight after weigh-in.
Yeah.
Manny Pacquiao against Errol Spence.
Yeah, it's a fantastic fight, and it's one of them where I saw again a brilliant tweet that Spence wins, then people will just turn around saying that it's just a shell of Pacquiao. But at the same time, if Pacquiao wins, people will be giving him so much credit for defeating what many consider to be, if not the best, then certainly one of the two best at 147 between him and Terence Crawford. But it's an intriguing fight. It all comes down to what Manny's got left, and certainly how well Spencer's going to continue to recover from the car crash. I know he fought Danny Garcia and he cruised to that victory, but there's a difference between, with no disrespect to Danny, but there is a level between Manny Pacquiao and Danny Garcia. And we've got Dean White sat over there, who was in the middle of the entire Taylor-Ramirez bust up, so he might be worth. Dean, do you want to? Dean, come on, jump in here for a second. Come on, jump in. Dean will explain to everybody what happened with. This is the last round podcast, Dean, so jump in and just let everybody know your role in saving tomorrow's fight.
Oh, no, I was just doing the right thing, as a boxing fan anyway, just to make sure fans across the world, Taylor, obviously we're in the kind of team and so on, he does the right thing, because if someone clumped him, he would have to clump him back, and then he could damage his hand, or he could get damage from someone punching him getting a cut, and then the fight could potentially be off as well. So you got to think like that. And I felt like the security was, top rank security was laxing. Not being funny, like we've never had this. We've been with Matchroom a long time. We've never ever had anything like that where, you get like the fans are so close to the fight. There's always a security detail that's there with us walking, and they kind of keep that barrier. That was a bit mad that they was literally on top of, the unified champion of the world, and he managed to leave his box down there, and it was all over the shop. But I mean, look, it is what it is. He's okay. He was a bit angry, frustrated, wanted to smash some necks, or skulls, I should say. But tomorrow he gets a chance to do that. So it's all good, man. He's going to go out there. It's going to be a hard fight. It's a hard fight, Obviously, everyone knows the durability of Mexicans, and Ramirez is definitely one of the tough ones. He's going to come forward. He's going to bring the pressure, and he's going to let his hands go. And it's down to Taylor to quench that fire, what he comes with, put it out a little bit, and then just do what he needs to do, and just be smart. Because look, now with this, I think it's added more ingredients, more spice. Because if people weren't going to watch now, because of that little kickoff, that's probably garnered some attention around the world. If people weren't going to buy or they weren't going to tune in, now they're going to be like, "Raw, this thing's going to be mad, Let's watch this. Let's stay up to watch this." And because they know there's needle, they know it's going to be real, hate on both sides and passion. And people are going to probably tune in. If it is pay-per-view, they're probably going to buy it. If they weren't, because to be honest, this is not getting the attention it deserves across the world, this fight. It is ridiculous. No one's picked it up back home. No Sky, no BT Sport, and stuff.
Why do you think that is, Dean? Because obviously I was just asking myself, why do you think that it hasn't been picked up?
I don't know, it's kind of, to make yourself a household name and star, sometimes, you got to do stuff outside of the ring, because it's an entertainment business. Yeah. He's not doing stuff outside the ring, he's doing shit in the ring, where it really counts. But at the same time, you need to garner attention to be a pay-per-view star. Maybe talking smack, I don't know what it is. Because we was talking about that up in the room as well. So, I'm not sure, man. It's a bit of a weird one. But like I said, he backs it up in the ring, so that's the main place. And it's a shame, because he's a hell of a talent. And he's in an elite pack of guys that are unified champion, going on to possibly be undisputed. That's crazy. Come from Scotland, United Kingdom, whatever. It's just mad that he's not getting the recognition he deserves, kind of thing. So, well, look, tomorrow night got a big fight, goes down, and hopefully he does the thing, and then we can go out and paint the town red, mate.
Dean, just with the time you spent around Josh this week, with the fighters you've worked with, the fighters you've been around, including your brother as well, when you see this mindset of Josh, how would you compare it to any of the other guys you've been around? Because he's heading in now for biggest fight of his career. It's an undisputed title fight. Can you see a comparison and the differences between the guys who you work with, guys you don't work with, but just being in and around the sport?
Do you know what? I think they seem quite laid back anyway, just like the man them are. Normally, Dill would be playing a lot of computer and chills, and then on fight night he might, go sleep a few hours before proper recharge and that. But he just seems cool. He was watching stuff online, what had happened just recently. It's quite weird. He was watching stuff, and then we were just all talking, and everyone was having input and talking. But it just seems like a normal kind of camp, a normal thing. Lads together, you want your close pals, you want your team, your comrades, and you want to joke and laugh and keep maybe not so much focus on tomorrow. It's gonna come. When it's got to come, you got to focus. You got a job to do. That's the professionalism you got to deal with. But they seem cool, and it seems like really any other real camp, I guess.
Dean, you've been on security detail today. You was on security detail in Saudi. Is that kind of your new job now? Your new role?
It looks like I intervene at the right time. When I saved the plane, now I saved the fight. But it's kind of weird. I'm in the right position at the right time, so it's all good. Look. It's all fun and joke, and it's cool, you know what I mean? Lucky.
Listen, final thing, Dean. You said you're going to paint the town red tomorrow if he wins. Have you started putting them plans in place? Can you let us in store for what Josh can be expecting?
I don't even know, I think these lot got something planned, but I think they've got most of the details. But I will let you know, obviously, as soon as I hear something, I'll let you know. It's not, I'm not no fussed about it, but it's going to be a bit mad tomorrow night. However it goes, it's going to be mad. Even tonight, I'm looking to go. I'm going to sleep now for a couple of hours, wake up, recharge, and then it's showtime. I'm going to be painting the whole weekend, the whole next week, all over the next week. We've got a long time now. I've got to be careful, you know what I mean, so we don't burn out. It's a long time, man, but yeah.
All right, Dean, top man. Cheers.
Thanks very much again, guys, yeah?
I also appreciate it, Dean. Thank you. Right, where were we? Spence and Pacquiao.
Yes.
So looking at that fight, do you think it's because Manny Pacquiao's a small 147 and Spence, people have said can move up to 154, maybe even middleweight. Looking at that, and with the option of having Mikey Garcia at similar weight, not heavy-handed, I do wonder whether this is the right choice for Pacquiao, because he could get hurt against Spence, hurt badly to the point of where, he's 42 years old. Does he really need that? I'm surprised he didn't take the softer touch in Mikey, because he could fight Spence and it could be the last time we see him.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one to play out in your head. I wouldn't say Mikey's a softer touch in terms of punching power, 100%. But Mikey's arguably the better technical boxer of the two between him and Errol. I know Errol beat him and boxed him very well in that fight as well. But it's an interesting one to play out. I think for Manny now, he's just simply all comers. He wants the toughest fights. He wants to test himself, see what he's got left. The one thing you do question is he isn't active himself now. He's obviously focusing on his work with the government in the Philippines and with the Senate and what have you. But I think that's going to play as big a part as any because of his inactivity. But he's an all-time legend. He has as good a chance as anyone of beating Errol Spence. And we all saw last time out in his last fight, he's rolling back for years. And he just comes back down to how many more performances left does Manny Pacquiao have at that level?
No, that is a good point. Looking forward to that fight. It's going to be here in Las Vegas. It'll be on pay-per-view. So, hopefully we'll be there. We'll be ringside. I just want to thank you for your time, Andy. If you want to tell everybody where they can find you on Boxing Social, on your Twitter, on your Instagram.
Well, firstly, I appreciate you speaking to me today. I enjoyed doing this. Just Andi Purewal, so ANDI-PUREWAL across Instagram and Twitter, and obviously Boxing Social. Shout out Boxing Social, the company I'm here covering the fight for. So away we go.
And you can find us at The Last Round 12 on Instagram and Twitter. And then check us out. We should have another show on Sunday. We should be doing a fight review. So I'll grab anybody I can find hanging around the hotel. And we'll do another one, right?
100%. Look forward to it.
Thanks again.
Okay.
Thanks for supporting and listening to the show. Follow us at The Last Round 12 on social media. Rate, review, and subscribe. This is the Last Round Podcast.